Good afternoon, everybody. This is Nicole Meyer, the Digital Strategy Manager for PHCP Pros. I just wanted to thank you all for joining us today, as well as matco-norca for sponsoring and presenting this webinar. What e-commerce solution is best for your business? Please feel free to submit your questions to the Ask a Question box on your screen at any time throughout the presentation. We will address all questions at the end of the webinar. Today's speakers will be Amy Zuki Justice and Michael Justice. Amy Zuki Justice joined matco-norca and SVF Flow Controls in May 2020 to lead the marketing department. Amy is an experienced marketer and sales professional specializing in creating and managing marketing strategies that focus on a blend of touch points, including digital marketing, events, content creation, branding, CRM, and more. Michael Justice is the CEO of Empire State Consulting Group. Michael is an established software developer with over 24 years experience writing, testing, and deploying database-driven applications in desktop and server environments. He has built custom websites, web portals, databases, and apps for many businesses, including not-for-profit, financial services, and construction and hospitality. With that being said, Amy and Michael, I will let you both take it away.
Great. Thank you, Nicole. First of all, I'd like to say yes, because I'm sure everybody's wondering, Mike and I are related. He is my husband. I did not choose him for the job because he is my husband. He's very good at what he does. So anyway, so matco-norca, this is our 70th anniversary. We've been in business now for 70 years. We offer valves, fittings, nipples, faucets, and plumbing specialties. We service the residential, commercial, and industrial industries. So, we have 16,000 SKUs. We've got 27 rep agencies, 20,000 plus customers. Our website gets about 120,000 visitors each year. But, we sort of lacked the right experience to service our customers and get the information, to them in a great way. So, our last real web design was in 2008. I'm sure a lot of people can kind of identify with this. We have a rep portal that's incredibly dated and doesn't really function properly. Our main website is slightly hard to navigate and a little cumbersome. The search doesn't always work so well. The user experience prohibits customers from really finding what it is that what they want at their fingertips. They're interested in reviewing orders and finding out more about the products. There's really no easy way for anyone to contact us. And it's hard to find information. So really, once COVID hit, I think as a company, we started saying, all right, we really need to find a better way to meet the demand of our customer, and their needs have been changing constantly. So, that's what our current website looks like. You can see it's very cumbersome to all the products just sort of fall down when you hover over that. So it's not super intuitive. We did make one quick change, which is adding forms so we can collect information when people have questions on all the product pages. Previous to that, there was really no way for somebody to ask a question that tied back to the product they were looking at. So needless to say, it was definitely time for a change. But it wasn't just the website, and that's sort of the least of the worries that we were experiencing. We wanted to, conquer e-commerce, really improve the customer's experience, and have a synergy between all of our systems for more consistent content, which is something we do not have right now. We're pulling content from all over, and nothing's updated, and there's a lot of room for error. So, we started looking at e-commerce solutions. There's e-com from big service providers. There's that middle tier, which is WooCommerce style build outs, or like a Shopify, and then custom built solutions. So that's sort of what we narrowed everything down to. So then we went through a process of evaluating each of these solutions. So I'm going to just go through the pros and cons of each. So the first was, e-commerce from bigger vendors, which if anyone's in this position, I'm sure you've been hit by a ton of different companies, and it's incredibly overwhelming. And you get off the phone with them and you think to yourself, wow, this is the greatest solution I've ever seen in my life. Until you step away and start thinking about how much it's going to cost, what it's going to take to actually implement it. So from the bigger vendors, they were sort of out of the box solutions. They had design templates that were very hard to modify. They have that shouldn't really be a pro. So on this slide, they have templates that, if you didn't want to redesign them. Anyway, so they have a team that comes in to support what you're trying to do, and there are a lot of bells and whistles, making documents, making recommendations when somebody clicks on a lot of the same products, and abandoned cart features. With something like WooCommerce, that is also out of the box. It's quick to install. It works well with WordPress, which is what a lot of people use for their websites. It's really easy to learn, and it has a lower price point. When we looked at custom-built solutions, they were appealing because you get what you want. They can potentially be easily integrated with other systems like your ERP system, your website, any of your customers' websites. They can have a lower price point, and then no ongoing fees, which we'll kind of touch on that in the cons later on. There's no need to purchase additional products from other partners to get the results you want. And most exciting is you own your own solution. So the cons for the bigger vendors is you do, and you can see in this example, there's all these partners over there. You often, if not always, have to engage other partners. There's little room for customization, which is what I started to say before. Both the product pages and they give you a main website, so you don't have as much flexibility to do what you want with your own website. And then all of their must-have items are add-ons, and they always have an additional cost. It's a longer lead time. And overall, what was sort of something that didn't appeal to us is that it's not really built with us in mind. It's for your bigger retail, big box stores like a Home Depot or a Walmart that are doing these massive e-commerce sales. The bells and whistles weren't always for us. They were nice to have in some cases, but chances are we wouldn't really use a lot of what their solution had to offer for us. And they also have access to all your data now. And if you're like us, we needed to tie it into our ERP system. While everything I'm sure is secure and stuff, it's still a little disconcerting. And then furthermore, the price points were crazy. When you look at them and how they originally present it, it doesn't seem so horrible, but there's residual fees that go on as long as you're working with them. For WooCommerce, it's something that you would easily outgrow it. It's hard to make customizations. You're limited. And if you want to do something a little different, you have to purchase plugins. And I'm not sure if anyone on this call has a lot of plugin experience, but that easily breaks the rest of your website. Constantly have to update them. Sometimes you update them too soon, and then it'll break something else. So you really have to have somebody on your team who can maintain those and understand when you shouldn't be updating plugins. And the basic designs that they have are, just what they are, basic designs. From the custom built solution, some of the cons would be, you have to have an internal resource who knows what's needed. So you really need someone who knows what your business needs and what is a reality as far as from a technical standpoint. Custom in some cases can add some time to your project. When the sky is the limit, you need to really pace yourself so you don't go and try to do too much too fast. And you have to find the right partner who knows your product and who can kind of help you grow. So with us, it was a really long evaluation process. So I just celebrated my year anniversary last week. Apparently this process was going on for several years before I even got here. And I know I sat in and reviewed tons of different solutions. And so my thought was, okay, let's review them all again. Let's have a focus group with our customers. Let's hire a consultant to come in and just look at everything we have, where we want to go, where we should focus, and then take all of this information and make some sense out of it for us. And right now, I just kind of want to turn to Mike to sort of say what he was our consultant that we hired, and sort of some of our findings.
Hello, all. To Amy's point, we did take a look at everything that they had considered previously, along with what they were already committed to hold on to in order to run their business, and really lined everything up. And once we did that, while everyone was initially, I guess, kind of enthralled with the idea of having, an out of the box solution that deals with everything, when you start to measure the things that you don't get, or the things that are going to require a lot of customization or re-engineering after the fact, it became very clear that the pain that you thought that you were going to pay to make go away really doesn't get you to the finish line. It doesn't get you even close to the finish line. And so when we started to drill down into what was really needed, it became very apparent that the real problem with Matco as an organization wasn't the people, wasn't the products, wasn't the customers, it was the data. And so when you started to look at how to give them exactly what they wanted, which is obviously a reflection of what they felt they needed in their, their survey with the customer, and their, their kind of collaboration that lets them come to that, it became clear that the data was the biggest hindrance to them getting the solution they wanted. And so the process at that point pivoted to figure out how to aggregate the data in such a way that allows for them to continue to operate their business under the, the current processes, because obviously it's not, it's not really suitable to try and retrain everyone on new ways of doing business, or was the goal ever to reinvent business, as much as it is to make the process easy for the company to pivot as their business needs evolve.
Okay, great. So we found ourselves, sitting here going back and forth with each other. Is it some sort of custom solution? Is it off the shelf? Is it one of these big ones? Is it one that is owned by our ERP system, where we think, and think is the key term, it's going to be seamless? So for us, we went with custom solution. So with that, our project became, all right, we're going to do a couple of things. We're going to redesign our website, improve the user experience. Then we needed to build a custom PIM, which is product information management. Redesign and expand our rep portal, build out to include our customers in that rep portal, and enhance what can be done within the portal. So I'm just going to go over those things a little bit deeper. So with the PIM, that links directly to our ERP system. We can create data fields and store data that the ERP system doesn't have. Seamlessly pulls product data that isn't in our ERP system. So to give you an example of what that sort of is, like if we're building a page that has what product, there's the images, those will never live in our ERP system. Our spec sheets or any documents relating to that product will never live in our ERP system. However, the pricing the availability will, some of the weights and details about the products will. So now you have this central location where you can pull a complete data on a product and be able to post it seamlessly to your website. And that's not only great for being able to do that, but now, the way we were working is if we had a price change, we'd have to download the price sheet, edit the price sheet, upload the price sheet, change it in our ERP system, remember to change it in any other site that this price sheet may live in. So you're making the same change in multiple places, and that's just, disastrous for a million reasons. So now you make the edit in one place, and the PIM pushes it out to wherever those documents and or information lives. And then, like I said, we obviously, with the way the world is going, pricing is up and down and mainly up, but we're constantly updating our price sheets. So this is, or will be, great for our business without needing to manipulate the data. Down the road, another great feature is you can take all the content that you're collecting and you can create catalogs and sell sheets and all sorts of things for your sales team directly out of the PIM. You don't have to go and recreate it into, another file. So now I'm going to switch from calling our rep portal a web portal because we are opening it up to customers. This for us is sort of what we're talking about when we discuss e-commerce. With 16,000 SKUs and the nature of our business, we don't sell typically one-off products. People are buying tons of products from us at once. So having an actual cart isn't what our goal is. So we have a web portal. It's a self-serving portal where our internal team can go, our sales team can go, our rep agencies, and in near future customers. You can view and track invoices, create and manage quotes, access the product information, review any sales history, and then see the pricing and availability. They can go back and look at stuff from ways back. It's great. One of the other things before I turn this presentation over to Mike that we are looking at doing, which will also be the PIM is a great source for us, is sharing data. We work with a lot of buying groups. We have a lot of customers who carry a lot of our products. So we're able to set up feeds where we can now flow this content and our catalogs really onto other sites. So it just increases the marketing that we're able to have, and gives our customers what they want. They can sell easier. They don't have to create new pages every time we have new products. We can now just flow that information directly to them by using the PIM. And I'll let Mike sort of talk a little bit more about what's going on his end.
With the PIM, the goal was really to not only warehouse the data that is used by Matco, but is not necessarily within the problem domain or the solution domain of their ERP system, but also allow them to have the kind of enduring value of allowing for this data to be syndicated. And by syndicated, I simply mean, redistributed in any format, whether it's supporting their existing website, whether it's supporting a web portal. She has apps on there as a potential future, use of the product. And with that, the core of this is really to make sure that you can keep all of this data consistent. While, the diagram here is pretty high level and doesn't get into all the nuts and bolts, the synchronization of all of these data sources as well as the outputs is really the key to driving this. You shouldn't need a technician or a specialty engineer in-house in order to make relatively minor changes to the data in order for it to be pushed out, consistently across the many, I guess, kind of consumers or subscribers to the data that the PIM warehouses. And so what we did in Matco's situation was we took a look at the inventory of existing assets that they had in terms of technology, and really sort of created a way to take out what we needed from each of the individual platforms, so that they have one place that they can go to on the sales and delivery side in order to produce not only visual assets in terms of websites or apps or catalogs, but really create this kind of almost like a meeting place or a station for people to really come and get the information that they need about their products or the status of their orders. And to do that, like I said, we really just aggregated a bunch of data sources and then created business rules and policies to keep these things consistent as it relates to when data that already exists changes. There's a process for pushing that out to other parties. When they make changes to data that wouldn't necessarily be germane to their ERP system. For example, if it turns out that the measurement on a given product was incorrect, there is no mass notification or reworking necessary to make that happen. All of the subscribers receive that information in real time, and then any kind of fixed derivative products like catalogs or sell sheets that are also subscribers to the PIM will also receive those changes, so that subsequent releases of whatever their product is will now have that updated information in it.
Sorry, I was on mute.
Sorry.
Yeah, no, I didn't. So, some of the things, so this sounds super easy and a fabulous alternative for everybody, the way that we kind of mapped it out. But, some of the things that we're going through is, thinking, creating these timelines. So I just want to kind of talk about some of the struggles and things to think about, making sure ahead of time that you really map out your process, what your goals are. Because like I said in one of my earlier slides, you can really just start going off course and being like, oh, well, now that we're doing this, maybe we'll do this, and can this do this? And, and then it's no good for anybody involved in the project, which, we've done that. So you really have to sit down and prioritize, okay, what is this going to look like? What are we going to focus on? What's going to be the first part? How did if you're in our case, we're doing the website and the portal at the same time. When we started the project, I really thought the website was the most important piece to get right. And then we were, a couple of months in, and I was like, oh, wow, I think it might be the portal, because that can work independently, and we were able to launch that sooner and be able to give our customers what they want. And that would then kind of drive the experience on the actual website. So it's really important to make sure that you write it all down, and to be able to meet regularly to talk about the progress, to stay on top of it. So, and then the other thing that we did is we did a total, rebrand, redesign. We've got new logos. We're going to have a whole new look for the website. So that's also something that came out of this project. I know that I wrote a blog on this, and we had a lot of inquiries about people, considering e-commerce, and this solution may not be. I just want to make sure that everybody knows we didn't do this webinar. We're not selling anything. I'm obviously not selling the solution that we built. We just kind of wanted to share our experience, because it's incredibly cumbersome and overwhelming. And especially, I know a lot of other companies that we work with may not have somebody who's done this. I've done it to some extent in the past, built websites, built, different kinds of portals. So I understand it, but that by no means makes me a pro. But if you're considering a solution like this, I hope at least just narrowing it down to those few options and making sure that you ask the right questions. One of the things that they don't tell you when you're looking at those bigger box companies that are offering these e-commerce / website type products, they won't tell you that it only goes but so far. They won't tell you that regardless of what you're doing, you're going to need this PIM, which is a huge fee if you're going to just buy a PIM in addition to e-commerce. We built the PIM, so that was how we dealt with it. But there are all sorts of things that you would have to do, or most likely would have to do, that might not be included in that initial price tag that you're looking at. So it's really important, at least from my perspective, that you have somebody who can really look at what it is you want and understand what these proposals are saying to you, because you'll never figure it out if you aren't used to seeing them, because like I said, they make it really hard to understand what you don't have. And then they'll start talking about partners, and they'll put you on calls with partners, and then you have to pay all those separately too. So But in some cases, those do make sense. So if you don't have a marketing team, some of this stuff wouldn't really matter to you because you're not paying these salaries of an entire marketing department. So maybe a solution like that would be okay for you. So that's just sort of kind of what we found on our end. And I don't know if anybody has any questions. Have there been any questions along the way? If we have anything that we want to talk about.
Yeah, so this is Nicole from PHCP Pros hopping on again. Thank you to Amy and Michael for that great presentation. For all attendees, there's still time to submit a question in that Ask a Question box on your screen. It looks like we did have a few come through already, so we could kick off our Q&A session now. It looks like here's one. What are some of the main red flags to look out for when determining what solution is best for your business?
Mike, do you want to take that? You want me to take that?
Oh no, that's fine. One of the biggest red flags that you need to look at is when the solution doesn't match the target. And that's not necessarily a fault of the people who are proposing the solution as much as it is a reflection that they don't really understand your business. Part of the challenge that we had with Matco is that when people started talking e-commerce, they were looking at it in your traditional kind of Amazon B2C style solution. And that does work for some people. However, in this industry, there's also a lot, there's also this middle tier of, manufacturer, distributor to reseller, and then from reseller to other businesses that gets lost in that. And while it's not necessarily just a question of branding or strategy, it's also a matter of execution. There's still a lot of credit in this business. The idea being that I'm not just going to slap down my Amex and buy a bunch of fittings or faucets. However, evaluating things like credit risk, most of these e-commerce platforms don't know how to take into consideration, much less actually integrate with whatever ERP system that you have that manages whether or not, Jimmy, the HVAC contractor, has a track record of paying on time or paying at all. And so when they start proposing things and down the road of retail transactions, you need to be mindful as to whether or not that's really the direction your industry works in. At the same time, you also have to be mindful of the cost to operate these systems. And so when you're either, you're kind of pushed into a corner where the only ways out are staff up with people who, while they're all technically proficient, don't necessarily impact the bottom line in a way that makes the product that's being proposed financially viable. Or you engage in these long-term consulting agreements with these partners where, while they're also well-intentioned people, they have neither the time nor the desire to truly understand your business to get the maximum value of the product onto the bottom line of your organization, whether that's in the form of reduced costs or increased sales or some combination therein. And with that, it's really like I said, it's really a matter of reading the fine print and understanding the features that these products have. A lot of these people, and unfortunately had to sit through a lot of these calls, they will go and propose solutions and not necessarily understand how much or how long of a customization process you're going to have to go through to truly integrate it into your existing business processes. Excuse me. Those were the red flags that I encountered. I'm sure that Amy, in the discovery process that I wasn't a participant in, could probably also speak to the non-technical red flags that came up in those conversations.
Yeah, I mean, I think I covered some of them. It was just, well, you're going to need to get this additional thing, or I touched on it very lightly, but a lot of these solutions aren't built for what exactly you need. And that makes sense. That's with anything you buy, but in most cases we would be using either a fraction of what they were offering, or we would then need to bend what they were offering to do what we needed it to do. So we couldn't find that right fit from any other solution. And then for me, I was stuck on the price points, and I felt like I was even the only one at Matco who was really kind of stuck on those price points. And I thought to myself, well, that's a lot of money to be putting out. And then, now we got to buy this other thing that's like, almost that. And then, then you find out, well, now I have to pay something every year on top of it. And come to find out, I don't really even own it. So now if I want to go do something else, I have to rebuild from scratch. It's not just like, okay, I'm not doing this anymore, let me transfer into something else. It's like you're back to square one at that point. And like I said, when it became really apparent when we surveyed our customers, and I was still new at the company, and they said, well, we don't really want to purchase anything. And then I was like, well, then why are we doing e-commerce? So that also, sort of was a red flag for me, that it's like, well, we've been on the phone with these people for years, and no one else ever paused and said, well, maybe this isn't the right thing, but here's what we can do that would meet your business needs. We obviously knew we were never going to put things in a cart, or our customer was never going to put things in a cart. It's not like we sell like, okay, here's a faucet and a shower head and call it a day. That's what I'm buying. Just don't sell like that. So no one ever really came with any solutions that made sense to our business. The other thing to consider is managing the process internally. It was first convincing, my peers or those who lead the company, why this was a better solution for us. And they had their heads set around the fact that, okay, we're going to need this one product. And, we've almost signed the document. And then I came in and said, we can't sign this. And it's okay. So now I have to tell you why. I have to explain why it's better, why it makes more sense. And then, we had diagrams, we had all sorts of stuff that we did, because, it's not, most people don't know about this kind of stuff. So it could be that I was making things up when I was talking to them. They wouldn't know. So, I think it's really important to be able to understand that there's people in the company who probably impact the decision, for going forward. And you really need to make them, buy into what is a better solution. So that was another obstacle that we had.
I'm sorry, I just want to add something on to the end of your response there, Amy. One of the benefits, which isn't germane to solving their problem, but you also derive as a benefit to using something like a PIM, is that you now get this level of agnosticism for your data. The idea being that it's now much easier for you to pivot from product A to product B if you no longer have to go through the pain point of getting your data out to convert from one product to another. So while, Matco clearly has a long-standing relationship with their existing ERP platform, that relationship isn't permanent. So when it comes time to consider a better solution or a solution that solves other internal issues, the pain and duration of trying to get that data out has already been accomplished for this process. It doesn't solve everything, obviously, but it pushes you far enough along in the process to where you don't feel the same level of indebtedness that you would feel if you didn't already go through the experience of attempting to extract that data.
Yeah. Nicole, do we have other questions?
All right. Amy, you kind of touched on this on your last response, but maybe if you had anything else to add about what you found was most important to your customers when developing an e-commerce solution.
So for our customers, it was really having, they wanted to access their orders. They want to check on an order They want to review quotes, build quotes. It's funny because I don't know if I can pull it up quick enough, but I was right before I started. It almost was like I had somebody. So I think I mentioned our portal right now is just for our rep agencies who sell to our customers, and we're opening it up to our customers so they can see their own information as well. And I had somebody write to me, I'm from X company. We order quite a bit from you, and as part of my job, I have to track and get statuses of our POs. You wouldn't by chance happen to have a customer portal website where I could see our orders and get statuses/updates in real time, do you? If so, I would like to find out how to get access. So you can imagine how excited I was to respond to him. But so that's an example that came in literally right at my time, 1:54, 6 minutes before this webcast. So that's the kind of things that matter.
Great. And then it looks like we have one final question here from Richard. From start to finish, how long did your journey take?
Well, so if you don't factor in the time before me, the reality is it's probably going to take a better part of, I don't know, 8 months. And that's why, so I say this by really making sure you write down what your priorities are, because we've gone off course for a couple of reasons. Some of it was connecting to our own systems. Some of it is our own internal teams being bogged down with other things. Some of it is making changes from what we originally wanted, which is going to happen anyway. I think in my head, I was like, okay, this will take 6 months, but it didn't. And we're very close. And then, sometimes you're really close and then you're like, oh, let's just do this before we go live. So, I would say anywhere from 8 to 12 months. It's a big, and don't forget, we're not just doing the portal. I think the portal could have been done really quickly. But we're redesigning our entire website. And in addition to that, we just figured, why not do more? We are implementing a CRM, which we've already kind of started, and that's customer, why am I drawing a blank? My CRM, relationship management software. So we use it. We have our email system in there, and then we have sales funnels and all sorts of customer insights. So this is a big job. So for us, it's taking a little longer because we're also integrating everything. So that's the long answer. I would say 6 to 12 months.
Amy's answer is a fair answer, but there are obviously ways to, shorten or otherwise lengthen that based on what your needs are. And so when I landed at Matco, clearly they had a lot of needs. And putting all this stuff up front in terms of writing it down or otherwise documenting it goes a long way in developing a solution that can solve all of these problems. The idea being that once we can get data out of their systems for use in the PIM, while for the sake of producing a website, you're more concerned with product data and order data, it also allows you to potentially get, bid data or pending orders or, things that, people are out there waiting for POs on, so that you can now go and leverage that connection to help make that part of the business run more efficiently. By them implementing a CRM and then taking data through this same system and pushing it through the CRM, they're going to experience a marketed increased rate of closing these orders based on the ability of following everything up. So it's, the notion being that it's no longer just on the rep or a sales manager to try and drive that PO landing back at the company as much as it is you now have automated systems in place to go ahead and take a look at what kind of business you're closing. How often, how long is it taking to close? How many resources are you are you bearing to close it, and measuring all of those other data points to continue to drive your organization toward better levels of efficiency.
Yep.
Okay, great. Well, with that, I think we will conclude our Q&A session. I just wanted to thank Amy and Michael once again for that great presentation, and thank you all for attending today as well. All attendees will receive an email from us with more information on how to access a recording of this webinar, as well as an optional survey where you can let us know your thoughts. Additionally, if we didn't get to your question during our Q&A session, we will try our best to email you individually with a response. So thanks again to matco-norca for sponsoring and presenting today's presentation, and thank you all for joining us. Have a great day.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you all for attending.